His body be a bridge for the healing of this land. May the river run through us, cleansing grief from our hands. We are born of water. We are made of land. Teach us, oh great mother, to bring peace to this land.
As an environmental scientist who has been working to remediate phosphorus from runoff on a local farm for the past 6 years, I would say this site is complex not only in its geoecology, but also in its socio-political ecology. Current law and supporting policy define remediation as scoop, dump, or cap and build, whereas scientists understand remediation as cleaning up toxins with support from microbes, fungi, and plants. It is our generation's work to shift the status quo of how polluted sites are managed.
I'd say MycoLab is a network of educators, scientists, students, artists, community members who have a shared goal of repairing Earth where we can. And in its current chapter, our aim is to conserve, restore, remediate, and rematriate the Pine Street Barge Canal.
I think about it every time I go past. I think about the past, the present, and the future of that site. I wouldn't be connected to that site in any way if it weren't for the community that that MycoLab has brought together.
So considering the increasing number of polluted sites in this country, in the Northeast and in Vermont, we feel a really heavy responsibility amidst our generation to call for reorientation of how polluted ecosystems are tended.
And once the conversation starts, then the conversation picks up, and then people notice. But without a conversation to begin with, it's hard to start and do anything. And this is what I mean by building on your small victories. This is what we've done in order to become recognized in the state government. This is how we've survived even when we were in plain sight. But we need to continue those conversations. And I think this is something that the public can be aware of and start doing.
We are currently on unfragmented riparian corridor of 23 acres of unceded Abenaki territory, and this urban wild is a classic case study of what condition ecosystems are left in when the petrochemical industry is no longer using it.
After the site's role as a log landing waned, it hosted a coal manufacturing gas plant from 1906 until 1966. And when the plant was closed, dismantled, and somewhat removed, the site was entered on the National Priority Sites of Concern list. During the plant's operation, wastewaters, residual oil, and wood chips saturated with organic compounds were directly discharged into the Barge Canal wetland. Toxic waste from the plant and other local factories is still present in the soil and water, requiring active maintenance. An employee of a local remediation firm explained to us that some of these wells fill with contaminants associated with coal tar every few weeks and need to be emptied regularly. We witnessed this while leading a class of Burlington City and Lake Semester students just last month.
So natural attenuation, it's been occurring on the site since it was abandoned in the 1960s. And this is a process where microbes, fungi, and plants will facilitate toxin degradation through their metabolism. So conserving the site will allow natural attenuation to continue undisturbed. Even these species right here are already naturally attenuating. The fact that they're on site means that they are already working, and therefore, if we conserve it, it merits further research.
We've done a lot to bring more people onto the site to get to know the land, to get to know the story of the Barge Canal, and to help us bring this project forward. We've held 6 ecological restoration workshops in the past 2 seasons, 18 community science events, and this past summer we held an Abenaki panel. A large focus of our work recently has been advocating for the conservation of Site 501, which is one of the Superfund sites at the Barge Canal. Part of what we hold a vision for is both Superfund sites being these living libraries of naturally attenuating communities, real tangible landscapes that are undergoing this healing process that will outlive all of us, but that we can bear witness to and contribute to.
And yeah, maybe just take a deep breath. Let's close our eyes. See what it feels like to be on a site that's like really polluted. Is it something that you would know in your body? Can you feel it?
Growing eco-literacy is a huge part of MycoLab's mission. Just getting people out into nature, learning a lot of the names of the plants, talking about what ecological habitat restoration looks like in practice and what it could look like if more community members were involved.
We're gonna invite you to just go to whatever you're interested in and try to take quality pictures of. We do have a lot of species already, but people tend to be plant heavy in these inventories because they're kind of the lowest hanging fruit. But if you do see insects or fungi, or you happen to see a mammal, we have seen beaver, we've seen deer, we've seen osprey. It's actually quite a vibrant community that's here.
Yeah, that's a thorax.
Oh, it does not look like a spider though.
Ochraceous buff, they're darker, sometimes becoming grayish. Yeah, they becoming grayish a little.
We're really grateful that Dr. Pablo Gutierrez Francesca from the University of Vermont, just up the hill, was down here a couple springs ago to lead a community science workshop with a focus on identifying aquatic organisms. Interestingly, all the organisms we found were of species that are highly pollutant tolerant. Together we looked at different tributaries and drainage ways and marshes, looking for these bioindicators, which essentially are aquatic organisms that tell us about the health of the water and the health of the surrounding ecosystem. And we identified various locations around the site that could be monitoring spots to come back year after year and do a rapid bioassessment to document what bioindicators are here, what macroinvertebrates we're finding, and use that as data to understand the changing water health of this site over time. Another really cool find was the Hydrometra martini, which is a water measurer and was the first documented in Vermont, found on this site. We found several species of concern. This includes the black-crowned night heron, which has a critically imperiled breeding population. It also includes the double-crested cormorant, which has an imperiled breeding population. On the ground, we've seen the plant hairy beard tongue, which is ranked vulnerable in Vermont. You can see ash, both white and green, and these tree species are under threat of the emerald ash borer, which is here in Vermont. Over these 2 years of conducting ecological inventory, we have collected 175 research-grade observations out of 382 total observations. Within the data set that we already have, there's a lot more identifying and analysis that can happen. We'd love for more expert naturalists to come out and help even out the taxa that we have collected data on. So we invite you to come onto the site and continue making observations. You can use iNaturalist right on your phone, and just by being in the coordinates of the site, when you make observations, they'll get uploaded to our Pine Street Barge Canal projects. We see this inventory serving as a really important tool to track this corridor's health over time. useful to students, educators, scientists, community members, hopefully politicians.
To date, there are around 1,336 Superfund sites on the U.S. National Priority List. In Vermont, there are 14, and then Northeast, there's 150. In terms of brownfield sites, there are 450,000 in the U.S., 125 in Vermont, and 24 in Burlington. Our efforts are in contrast to a 43-year trajectory since the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act first determined in 1980 how these sites are managed. While there have been amendments to improve procedures, they fall short of supporting restoration and remediation. Scientists understand remediation to involve cleaning up toxins to support thriving biodiverse ecosystem recovery. Current law informing policy understands remediation to involve removing toxins to another location or capping them in place to develop. For example, in 2019, Governor Phil Scott pledged to clean up 5 brownfield sites in Vermont with $4 million. In each case, cleanup was defined through the lens of development.
This site has long been recognized for its potential and the economic opportunity that comes with it. But the environmental cleanup needed to achieve that has made it very difficult.
The remediation of the Pine Street Barge Canal Superfund site was carried out under Superfund legislation guiding policy and remediation funding, which considers the scoop, dump, build, or cap development strategy to be remediation.
Restoring the balance of Mother Earth. We've ruined her. She's crying because of the things that has been done to her. And it's, it's not, our generation cares. People, maybe I shouldn't say they didn't care, but they didn't really know what they were doing.
May this body be a bridge for the healing of this land. May the river run through us, cleansing grief from our hands.
We work with Abenaki as primary stakeholders in this site, and a story that stays with me is that an Abenaki colleague of ours was on the site this summer and commented that they couldn't feel the presence of their ancestor there. The land was so polluted. And even if they could bridge that connection, they wouldn't want to. They didn't want to bring their ancestor to such a harmed piece of land. And yeah, that stuck with me. Like, I do really hope that through the work that we're doing and in the direction that we're heading, Abenaki people can come and not have that block from all the contaminants underground, but feel that, change is happening, that healing is happening, and that we can welcome larger community and welcome kids and welcome elders and not have fear or tension around what the land is holding.
There's still aspects of colonial tendencies that we all carry. And as we approach how to restore degraded ecosystems, we're still sometimes carrying that colonial lens. And so what we found in collaborating with Abenaki in this community is we have been put in check several times about some of our approaches in our communication, in our perspective on land and time, and our modes of listening and responding. And while it's been challenging and we've made a lot of mistakes, we've also found it really rewarding and have had successes in the sense that there's a growing sense of trust between our Abenaki collaborators. And this partnership, we really would like to extend to all of the other stakeholders who are going to be working on this site. And that includes the developer and the development team. It involves even the remediation officers and any scientists that work here, any other educators that work here. The Abenaki have a lot of wisdom. We're trying to create ways for them to remain as equal stakeholders in the conversations, because our idea is that once the pollutants are remediated, which may not happen in our lifetime but will begin to, that their voice is always present and guiding the future of what this land can look like and how it can be shared in the community, and that they can one day again do ceremonies here, and that maybe even grow tobacco here that they could harvest.
That is what I think would be the best thing to start considering, is as a whole society, they talk about reparations for different groups of people in the United States. They never talk about that with our original people. This would be a way to consider doing that, to say, okay, we've made mistakes, we're cleaning this up, and we're going to give it back to the original land stewards. And that's what I'm hoping would be considered at the end of all of this.
Everybody can understand, like, oh, we have opportunities to support Native communities. Native communities can engage in that support, and it can be a collaboration, and that's what we have here with these wonderful people who are willing to take the risks, have the hard conversations, do all of, and that's just to have this part. That's not even all of the work they're having to do on the land. I'm even just talking about, getting us together and wrangled. So the level of dedication it takes from such committed and intelligent people who know how to do this work in a way that's not harmful and not further damaging or putting a cap on it and, leaving it for somebody else to deal with is really powerful. And it's an honor to be here with you folks who engage in working together to support these type of projects, because that's what we need to all come together and to all be healthy. Land, people, all of our systems.
All right, so once everyone has your tool, I'm going to show you a few strategies.
But even respondent was I wanted to be part of the draining phase. So I came into this really suspicious of even the idea of invasive plants, just based on that we are all from everywhere. Many of us live non-locally to our ancestral homelands. Yeah, it's just given me a lot to think about. I think even the idea of engaging or not engaging, or wanting to just leave it alone and let her repair herself, I think is an okay idea, but I think that even stems from colonization, as far as thinking that we're apart from nature and that our influence can be one for moving things towards a positive direction.
This being the last restoration workshop that we're doing for this year is kind of in a way harvesting all of our efforts to understand where it is going to next, all of the community that's been built, and then all of the science that's been collected and where these projects are going in terms of the political situation of the development. It really feels like a very, next step, evolved version of the thing that I first just came out here to pick up some trash on. So yeah, I feel grateful for that.
So we have decided to pause with this project. We are discouraged to step away from active involvement, but we feel we have given it our best effort. At this point, we are handing the baton to those with more expertise in city politics, economics, policy, and law to discern how to deliver what we found to where it can be received and inform land management decisions at the site. However, we have not been able to find any of these people. Are you one of them? We suggest those interested reach out to Vermont Law School and the Conservation Law Foundation. Next steps would be to draft a bill which aims to amend the federal definition of remediation. Simultaneously, much can be done to bring our findings to inform the future of this site through educating local municipalities, businesses, and policy tenders. Conserving this land can set a new precedent for polluted land management. protect valuable, functional riparian corridor for watershed basin health, protect the health of community members in Burlington, support this accessible hub to grow eco-literacy in the community, facilitate ecological restoration of the degraded urban wild amidst rewilded areas, collaborate with Abenaki and model how rematriation can begin, and support an outdoor laboratory for education, research, restoration, remediation, and earth repair training. We believe that this can happen, and we're welcoming folks to join.
It's a long haul. Like, the visions that we hold, these processes outlive each of us. And so, I think it's important that we connect with each other and rely on each other and don't try to go at it in these tiny pockets, but rather connect in broader ways. And it's exciting to think of like a bioregionally activated earth repair community holding care for earth and also for each other in the way that we communicate and collaborate. And we're here. You can step in too.